I hope this works. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
All right.
So you say you do this for work as well?
Yes. Can you give me a second? I need to fix one more part of my audio here. I think the people, anybody who might be watching this in the live stream, is going to get double audio. I need to fix that. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
All right. All right, let's get started here. I'm going to share my screen. I think it's this one.
What is your channel's name?
Sunraiser.
Sunraiser.
There might be, I think there might be two Sunraisers on YouTube. One with a space, one without a space. Anyway, so
what is your profile pic? Is it like a demon dude?
No, it's a sunset. Mine's Sunraiser with a space. All right, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
All right, excellent. So basically, refraction, the way I understand it, is it's really just interference. Fundamentally, it is interference, and it's nothing but interference. So I've cooked up this quick simulation here, which allows us to look at some waves. It's kind of a simple thing here. Oh, does this have to do this way? This is pissing me off. God. All right, I gotta switch screens.
All good.
I don't like this. I don't like that this thing is doing it this way. Let's see if we can fiddle with this a little bit. Nope. Doesn't like it. This is pissing me off. Yesterday this thing was popping up my simulation on a different screen.
Okay.
And I don't remember how to control it. So let me try to share a different screen here.
Oh, there, I got your channel off.
Yeah, hang on. This one. Okay, how about now?
Let's have a look. Yeah, so I've got the code and then your little grey screen there.
Okay. So it's just gonna have to be in the corner here. All right, so let's do like 1,000 iterations here. And so I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of think of a drop of water in a pond or something bobbing up and down.
Got you.
It's just creating circular waves, and I can upgrade this simulation to 3 dimensions, so it's spherical waves. And that's what I did at work. Is I took my skills for building this and I bumped it up to 3 dimensions and did it for much more complex systems. But for now, this is just the very basics. There's no laws governing the simulation except for a sine wave and distance. Right? So it's just circles radiating outwards. Now, we can see what happens if we add another source, another point. And we start getting interference. Well, let's make this longer.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I have this refractive gradient in here. So let's remove the gradient. Here we go. So this is without any refraction. I wonder if I could speed this up maybe, or fast forward it. Here's fast.
So is that if you had to drop, for instance, 2 stones in a pond or whatever, 2 pebbles in a pond?
Kind of, yeah, but this is just continuously radiating.
Yeah.
So maybe this is more appropriate for like 2 dipole antennas, and we're looking at a cross-section top-down view, right? So
yeah,
tracking so far, it's interference. There's no refraction going on yet. I'm just kind of fast forwarding this. So let's say we have, here we go. So suppose we trying to organize my real estate here. All right, so if we had like 5 sources, then we get a pattern like this, right? So we can increase the number of sources, and this is going to slow down my simulation. So let's say we got 20 sources. We still get the same number of lobes. We can decrease the period or increase the frequency. And we start seeing a main lobe here. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
You can see my cursor?
Yes.
All right. So we got a main lobe here. We got some side lobes. And increasing the number of sources does not change the number of side lobes, right? It's still the same. It just makes my simulation way slower. But the total number of side lobes are still the same. The only thing that affects the number of side lobes is the frequency or the period. So if we go down to a period of 10, and our
So when you
units,
say what are the lobes that you're talking about? Is it those that section there?
So this is the main lobe. All right. So this brighter section here is the main lobe. And then the side here, this is a side lobe. Here's another side lobe and another side lobe.
Okay.
And when I decrease the period or increase the frequency, you'll notice that you get more side lobes, right? So you have more side lobes, and the side lobes become weak. And so as we decrease this frequency even more, we start to form this beam. right? So
Yeah.
you start to get the idea that a laser beam really is just interference. My optics teacher once told me refraction is diffraction. It took me a couple of years to understand what he meant by that. But today I know what he meant. So now we can add in a gradient. So let's bump this up to 3. This is, for the record, the units I'm using here for the speed of light and time, it's, for time it's using just iterations, right? It's just iterations. That's our unit of time. And our speed of light is in pixels per iteration. So this actually be pixels per iteration. There's no seconds here, it's just iterations. So
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I'm not too pedantic over being too finicky, if that makes sense. As long as I get an understanding of it, I'm happy.
Yeah. Pure raw waves. So it doesn't matter if this is light or sound or some other waves. It's all just interference of circular waves. So I've added a gradient to the speed of light, which is if you take the reciprocal of that, you get the gradient in the index of refraction. Something to that effect. So you can see here, applying a gradient in the speed of light, we get some bending going on here. And
I got you.
So what's going on there? Why does that happen? We can zoom back out. First off, let me see if I can get he's not available yet.
Okay.
So never mind him. We just have to make do without him. All right, so if let's go back out to lower frequencies and see what's going on here. But do you understand why it's even bending like this?
As far as I understand, it's when you showed me those lobes, it's that light is going in that path because of the interference from the more I'm going to call them little pebbles that you put in the water. There is creating ripples into a pattern, and it's following that pattern. Is that correct?
Yeah. So you have constructive and destructive interference because the waves are directly added together by superposition. And you have positives adding to negatives, that cancels out, so it's destructive interference. But then you have positives adding to positives and negatives adding to negatives. That gives you constructive interference. And it just so happens to be when you have these side-by-side sinusoidal sources, they're waves that are spreading out. They add and subtract each other to create this beam.
Yeah.
But why does this beam bending? And when the speed of light is, or when the speed of sound, for that matter, could be a gradient. When you have a non-uniform speed of light, speed of the wave, whatever, it starts causing bending. In my case here, the speed of light is faster at the top and it's slower at the bottom. So the index of refraction is higher at the bottom and lower at the top here. So in some ways, this kind of demonstrates the principle of atmospheric refraction, where the atmosphere is denser. It's the densest at the bottom and it's thinnest at the top. Right? Would you agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I would. And
since light interacts with matter, the more matter you have, the denser the matter, the more electrons and protons you have, the more atoms you have, the more it interacts with light and slows down light.
Yeah.
And so the result of that is, well, what happens when light passes through the atmosphere? It bends. But what's really going on, the light doesn't seem to be just bending it, because what we're finding here is that the beam is formed through interference. And so this bending pattern is still just interference. And so,
But now, let's say we have a gradient that's cutting through this where there's an actual barrier. Then it's going to refract that light. What would happen if it has to hit that barrier? Now it's going according to Snell's law, but it's still in the same gradient that it's in now. What would actually happen to it? Would it now eventually become like a circle, or yeah, I'm struggling to explain that now. How do I explain this? So say now halfway through this, where this light is bending up, so you let's say on the left hand side of the screen, so put your mouse on the left.
over here?
Yeah, where the light source is coming from.
Over here?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so let's say that's where the light source is coming from, but now you see this is it's slightly going up, but then it's curving down. What if there's a barrier there, say where your mouse is now, and it actually refracts now, or has internal reflection, for instance? What would happen to the beam then? Would the curve be more severe? Would it curve more down?
Well, okay, if you have like a sudden barrier here, are you talking about like
Yeah.
a ceiling?
Let's say a different density layer, completely different density layer, where Snell's law would take effect.
Yes.
Is this, yeah? So would that light would curve now? It'll curve more because it's going to reflect off that barrier, but now it's going to carry on in this bottom medium, and it's just
Right.
going to curve even more down. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But at the fundamental level here, the refraction, the whole thing is still just interference. So let me demonstrate what's going on there, so it makes better sense. Let's actually make this just one iteration. And let's bring this down to the numbers I originally had. So we're 4 iterations in. And in fact, let's exaggerate the gradient, right?
Yeah.
I should probably open this up in Paint or something like that. So let's keep this simple. Let's say 5 sources. All right. Or for the concept, 2 sources here. And what's going on with this gradient is the speed of the wave from the top source is faster than the bottom source, right? So you can see here that the top circle is bigger than the bottom circle.
Yeah.
Making sense?
Yeah.
And so just the pattern of the waves spreading out at different speeds, you combine that with the interference. The interference pattern created in the process happens to be that bent path. So if I were to play this out, the top waves spread out faster than the bottom waves, and the wave front here on the right that's formed seems to just bend in a downward curve.
Yeah, I see that.
But it's all still just interference. So fundamentally, it's still interference.
Fantastic. This is very, very interesting.
And so we could get a lot of meaningful information from just, let's say, this screenshot right here. So I'm going to screenshot that. I'm going to open up I'm going to open up Paint. You can start to see, let's see what we got here. Let's crop that bad boy. All right, so take for example this guy. You can see that.
Yeah.
So I can actually derive Snell's law from something like this, right? So suppose down here we have this right here is, let's say call this y1 x. I am not used to Windows 11.
Me neither, man. I also just updated by itself yesterday, and I was like, "Fuck, where's my copy to paste? Edit with Paint?" Because I do a lot of listings for my business, and sometimes I need to edit or center a pick, and I find Paint just so easy and quick. And now I can't right click and say edit with Paint anymore. But eventually, I got it added by editing the registry. But yeah, I'm not used to this Windows 11 either.
Yeah. So from the top and bottom ends of the source here, we can mark out some coordinates, some x and y coordinates, right? So let's call this x1, and then this way would be x2. All right. It might just be easier for me to use my drawing pad on this. Yo, here. Okay, I'm about to give up on that. All right, let me get my drawing pad.
Okay, cool.
This is much easier to work with. So this is x1, x2. What is this and what's that? Okay. All right, so this is x1. Oh man.
That's fine. I got it.
X1, X2, Y1, Y2. All right. A couple of things to note would be we have our wavefront here. And we have our origin axis, if I could call it that. And then between here, let's use a thicker again.
Oh, and that's actually what's causing the curve.
Yeah. So on a small scale here, we have, let's call this d theta. All right, so it's an incremental change in the direction, right? So this is not going to work out right, but I'm going to just bear with me here. So in this direction, vertical is, this is going to be this is our y axis, right? This is our y coordinate, but this is also the direction of our gradient. So let's use v. So this is our gradient in the speed of light, right? Where v is equal to the speed of light, the vacuum speed of light divided by the index of refraction. That's the definition there. This is our gradient. Delta V is by definition, this is dV over dy. We can actually be more, we could actually define this a little more properly if we include our other dimensions as well. So y hat is dv over dx x hat. So as a vector, it's like this. You tracking?
Yeah. It is very out of my understanding, but I'm getting I'm learning it now.
So it's a rate of change in the speed of light with respect to our y and our x axis, or x coordinates. But because everything's vertical, this term here, this is 0. This term is 0. So it reduces to just that.
Okay.
So it's like, think of a slope, right? And writing it as a scalar would look like this. So it's, not a vector anymore. We're just looking at the magnitude only. We have our direction defined right here. All right, tracking. So it's like a slope. The slope in the speed of light with respect to our y coordinates. Tracking?
Yeah.
And now here's where another definition comes in. This angle here, this is theta. This is our velocity vector. And so at some point, like given a point down here or over here, we might be able to find here our radius of curvature where these two lines converge, wherever that might be.
Got you.
So now, as the wavefront continues to propagate out, that radius of curvature may or may not change.
Depending on the medium.
Depending on how the medium changes and depending on the angle.
Yeah.
And we can actually figure out the whole thing. Even from this, we can build on, just on this alone, we can eventually arrive at Snell's law, and then you can apply it to boundaries. So you'll end up getting two versions of Snell's law, one that applies to the boundary, the other where you don't have a boundary, you just have a gradual change. All right.
Okay, so to give you an idea of what I thought was going on, is because I never knew about this, and that's why I say I thank you for this. So just want to give you to where I'm standing and why I'm appreciating what you're doing here, is what I was thinking is there always has to be a boundary. I haven't seen it demonstrated otherwise except what you're doing now. So I was imagining a whole, because the gradient is more dense at the bottom and it gets thinner the higher you go. I was imagining a whole bunch in micro scale, if that makes sense, of little boundaries, and each time it's hitting a little boundary, and that's what's going bending the way it's bending, if that makes sense, or curving
Yeah.
the way it's curving, and that was my understanding of why it would curve the way it curves, and with the gradients. I know it's way simpler, but yeah, that's what I was thinking was going on.
Right.
So same thing with when we're talking about looking at a long distance observation, and we're seeing something loomed up. I've done a little demonstration where I use, or with the dude that was going to hop in here, he actually made a joke of it, or he thought I was being ridiculous, but I was using water tension, and because I'm under the understanding that the atmosphere acts as a lens and it can magnify, and the where that curve is, because of that water tension, there's like a little meniscus which creates a curve in that lens. I was able to bring an object over a physical object, and you could see it in vision, and it, for me, it looked like the black swan. And let's say we're looking at a distance where there should be obstruction by the earth curve. I was saying, okay, well, it's because it's being loomed up with refraction, and I was able to demonstrate that. And yeah, it just appears that when the way light travels through a medium, it hits a barrier, and that's where it presents itself. And when we're looking at a long distance observation or a sunset, I'm saying that I think there's a lens there. That's where there's a new medium in the vertical axis, if that makes sense, the one that's in front of us. It's almost as if there's a whole bunch of fish tanks between yourself and an object, and we're seeing it presented on the closest fish tank to us. If that makes sense, I don't know if that makes sense to you,
It kind of. Yeah.
but yeah, that's the way I understand or think, is that's what's happening. This is giving me a better understanding of why things would be stretched or uh, missing in a lot of observations, where we see an inverted image with a correctly orientated image, but there's the center of it is missing. I took into account that I think that's the shape of the lens, but yeah, I think this is going to explain it in a more scientific manner as well.
Yeah. So here, theta is the incident angle with respect to the gradient and the speed of light, right? And so, in layman's terms, the reason this refraction happens, it reflects off of a barrier, is because of practically it's a sudden change in the speed of light. And well, there are limitations to whether or not at that angle the wave can enter the other medium. And that has to do with, I guess it's better for me to just show you that, to show you what's going on here. Let's take this out to another. Let's mature this, okay? Let's see here. Let's lower our gradient. I don't like this. 10. Makes more sense with the well-defined beam. So let's see here. Let's take this back. I think this will make a good example here. So let me print screen this. I'm going to open up another paint to show you what's going on with the barriers. What's the deal with the barrier?
So I use that other light simulator. Jesse Gordon actually sent me a link to it. It works quite well, where you can change the different lenses and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
see what actually happens with the lights.
So as previously mentioned, we have a certain speed of light down here. Maybe it's better to draw a line here. Because our gradient, our speed of light gradient is vertical, right? So down at the bottom here, we have one particular speed called V1. And then up here, we have another speed, a different speed of light. Let's call it V2. I don't know if you can see that quite clearly.
Yeah, no, yeah, all good.
Now, up here, let's say up here, we have another speed of light. My lines aren't exactly horizontal here.
That's fine.
So I'll call this V3, right? So 3 different speeds of light. V3 is the fastest. V1 is the slowest, right? And so one way to look at this barrier, with this boundary condition, is we have this our beam is going from one direction, and in some sense it's reflecting off of a barrier. It's all just curving, but at this angle relative to vertical, it does not have the, it's not gonna go up high enough before curving away. So if we were to
this is the way I was imagining how it would work on a micro scale. This is really doing deep into actually what's going on, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah.
Because between V1 and V3, there are many more Vs, for instance, many more speeds, because it's faster the higher you go. So that's what's causing that bending down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's grabbing, for instance, if you had a car going from left to right on the screen now, it's also going to, it's like going on a more sticky road on the bottom side, and the left wheels are free moving, but now the right ones keep pulling it down, or pulling it to the right, which is now down in this sense.
But it's all still interference.
But yeah, because of the interference, correct.
Yeah. And so if we look at this a different way, let's suppose we can try to do something that's more appropriate to Snell. So this is a condition where you have total internal reflection, right? It doesn't just keep going up and up. Eventually, it curves around and reflects down, right? Because the speed of light in this region up here is too high for the angle. Now, given the same gradient, without changing our gradient, let's suppose we change the angle. Let's see if I can do this angle changing correctly. Let's make
sorry, this also only really occurs in a very dense medium. It won't really work in a thin medium, because the speed of light is it's too quick for us to actually notice the change. Or
right.
Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, this is I mean, I don't think it's appropriate to say this is a dense medium, but the gradient is very steep.
Okay. Like I say, dude, I'm very newbie to this. I know the very basics of refraction. I've read a lot about refraction, but not this.
So here we go. So in this example, I did not change the gradient. So our gradient speed of light is still the same. I've just changed the incident angle, right? And you can see that it does go further up. It did not seem to curve away at this rate, except up there. Let's have it the way I had it before. Anyways, so we can take this example and try to make a point across here. So down here we have, let's say we got one speed of light, right? This is V1, and then up here we have, how about over here we got V2. And now I want you to consider this. If we consider this angle here, still with me?
Yeah.
So we have this angle relative to our vertical. I could draw this a lot better. So here we have a theta 1, and then up here, I should not have put that there. But so be it. Oh, come on. Okay. And then we have a different, we have another angle here. And this is theta 2. I think I could draw this better. Okay, let me use my pen pad. Theta 2. All right, tracking?
Yeah. Got you.
So this is theta 1. That's theta 2. We have different angles of incidence here. The speed of light up here is V2. It turns out that this relationship obeys Snell's law. And we get, if you do the derivation process starting from our first screen we had, from this screen, you can eventually arrive at this this relationship. Sine theta 2 over sine theta 1 is equal to V2 over V1, which is equal to N1 over N2. Eventually, you can pull that out of here. And you can see that bending, right?
Yeah.
So
this is exactly what I thought was happening, and it's just on a micro scale.
Yeah.
I just can't explain it. I don't have the math. I can't speak maths. I can't read maths. But yeah, you explaining it nicely for me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But this is what I thought was happening. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. So Snell's law, obeys this. It's just that on a large scale, we don't see the gradual changes from one medium to another. The boundaries are not they're not how do I say, exacting.
Yeah.
There's some drop off that does not happen suddenly at the at least at the molecular scale.
The only thing that confuses me is, for instance, if I say, if we're playing soccer on a soccer field and we kick a soccer ball, and the one person can't see that far and the other person can, you tell that person, oh, the soccer ball's over there, and say it's 70 meters from you, and you say, oh, there's the soccer ball, it's over there. And the person says, I can't see it, but you say it's over there and you're pointing to it. And then they also see the soccer ball over there. When I say it's over there and you can point and you can actually see it's over there. When I film, for instance, a sunset and I see it going into a mirage, I don't see that sun far out there. I'm seeing that sun doing what it's doing. When I say over there, I'm meaning over there. And it's generally on the horizon or just above the horizon when it's doing its magic. I filmed a few where it starts quite higher up. But if you get what I'm trying to say, is that when I say it's over there, it doesn't look like it's so far out. It looks like it's a projection in front of us. That's the only thing that confuses me, is why do we see the sun where we see the sun, or why do we see the moon or the stars where we see them? That's what I'm finding very, very fascinating, and that's what got me into this little hobby of filming and researching the refraction topic.
Do you mean it seems like the sun is closer than what it should be?
Not the physical sun, but the actual light of it. For instance, if I'm shining my projector onto a curtain and I stand on the other side of the curtain, I can see, oh, there, okay, I can see the light of the projector on the curtain. I'm on the other side of it, and then I can see a little bit shining onto my wall still. Or you get those sheer curtains and you can shine it through that sheer curtain, but you'll see the image on the sheer curtain as well as on the wall 2 meters from the sheer curtain. But what I'm saying is I'm seeing it on that sheer curtain. That's where the light decided to, that's where it's presenting itself.
So you're talking about crepuscular rays?
No. If I shine a torch into a glass of water, I can see it shine onto the glass, onto the actual glass itself. I see the light shining through the water and it presents itself in that water. And then I see it on the other side of the glass, but I see it go through that glass and it hit the wall as well. So it's presenting itself in 3 different places, on the 2 pieces of glass and on the wall. So when I'm looking at the sun setting, I'm seeing that light present itself on that barrier. I'm calling it a barrier or a lens. It's shining through the atmosphere like a lens. It's not like that sun. Why am I not seeing that light right in front of my eyes? Why am I seeing it over there? And it's always in that place, or the miraging's happening at that location. It looks like it's happening on that location.
Yeah, I think that has to do with a combination of things. One, refraction is kind of if it's low on the horizon, it starts to seem distorted. That's definitely the atmosphere playing with you on that one.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's refract. That's where I'm saying I think refraction is taking place. When we're seeing the Fata Morgana or those stretched images and things like that, that's the medium causing that. That's what you're showing. Yeah, I think that's what's creating that stretched image. I don't know how to explain it in a scientific manner, but those stretched images. However, we're seeing it happen at that location. So when we do demonstrations of shining lasers through fish tanks and that, we can only do it when we have barriers. For instance, in the fish tank itself, having that medium in that fish tank. JC Gordon did a fantastic demonstration. I don't know if you know who JC is. He did a great Fata Morgana demonstration with a density gradient. However, you can only see it when it's in the tank. If you had to go in there with your naked eyes, you wouldn't see that happening. You need that refraction to take place. You need that light to exit that medium for it to present what is presenting, that image that is presenting, or the Fata Morgana that is presenting.
Well,
If that
then
makes sense.
I'd say that in the case of the atmosphere, you don't really need any barriers. You just need a lot of varying indexes of refraction.
Yeah, but it's
It's
same
a
same with the,
compounding effect.
yeah, but it's same with the road mirage. The closer you get, then that effect starts disappearing. I understand. Yeah. So the closer I get to a road mirage, the more then that effect starts disappearing because I'm entering that medium where that event was taking place, but it's happening again further down the road. Yeah, I struggle to explain these, but yeah, that's something that I'm still trying to demonstrate of why that's happening. I would love to see to have more demonstrations done like that, and yeah, I'm hoping the universities are going to assist with funding of that because they also think this is a fascinating topic and agree that this requires a lot more attention that it currently has.
So the Fata Morgana thing is that's when you're seeing like the ground or something, an image of the ground somewhere floating in the air.
It's normally three. So you got a mirage, then you got a superior mirage, then you got another inferior, like it's a inferior, superior, inferior mirage. You got the three images. That's generally when we see a Fata Morgana, or what we would class as a Fata Morgana.
But you got some image floating up in the air, right?
That would be a superior mirage.
Okay. So would you think that the superior mirage is the same thing that's going on here? That
I
it's not
think so.
reflecting off of a barrier, but the light is, at some point it's going up and then it's going down again.
So when I do my little demonstrations, I talk a lot about a meniscus because I can replicate that sort of refraction. And what appears to be happening is that the light is traveling through that medium, and when it exits that medium, that's where that light is presenting itself. That's where we see that image. Same as, for instance, with a projector. When you shine a projector onto a wall, that's where that light is presenting itself. If I move that wall further back, it's going to be presenting itself further back, but it's going to be a larger image, for instance. So what appears to be happening is where these mediums, where different densities meet, where mediums meet, there's a meniscus, and we can see that in small scale. You can do it yourself. You can go get a fish tank, or you can take a glass of water will even do it. But if you put, for instance, 4 teaspoons of sugar in the bottom half, and then you pour very gently just normal pure water, normal tap water, but with no sugar in it, and you let those rest, there's a meniscus between the two. And it seems that that's where the distortion of the mirages occur. And that's where the light is exiting. But because there's a meniscus, there's a curve between those barriers, is why I'm thinking we're seeing what we're seeing. And what you're presenting here, I think, is explaining that even in a much more scientific reason or method. But like I say, I'm doing what I can do with my understanding or way of explaining things. And when I presented this to the high school physics teacher, I'm not in high school, I'm 36 or 37 years old. I don't even know how old I am anymore. I was born 1986. When I went to go present this to the physics teacher, she was quite wowed by it and wants to know more. And they got me in contact with the 2 universities. And this is where this sort of knowledge, what you're presenting here, is hopefully going to assist in taking this further. Because there's very, very little content of or demonstrations of why this is happening. We've got a lot of verbal and mathematical explanations, but very, very few demonstrations. And I'm looking forward to see what 2023 yeah, we're 2023 now. 2023 brings to this discussion or this topic. Well, I think it's a fascinating topic and requires attention. And yeah, with what you're doing, yeah, dude, I think you would be a massive help as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this. I don't think you're going to get something like this at the high school level. If anything, if you have a good teacher in college, you'll get some mention of it.
Yeah, so that's why she also said this is way out of her pay grade. I got the whole presentation on video, and that's why she got me in contact with the universities. Purely, the only reason why I went to the high schools, I actually bumped into one of my old teachers when my wife and I went to a hot springs resort, and they were the stand behind us. And I met him and he said, hey, and he asked me what I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. And then I mentioned this topic that I'm doing. And he said, oh, it sounds interesting. And he got me in contact with the physics teacher at that high school. And that's when I presented there. And yeah, then this topic has gotten through to the university now, which is exciting.
All right.
But yeah, this definitely, I actually subbed to your channel because I want to watch this again, go through this again. But yeah, what you're presenting here is really, really good stuff.
Okay. Well, did you want me to go ahead and do some derivations just to, why not? Or do you not have time?
Yeah, I don't know if you know about our power issues here in South Africa. They switch our power off for like 4 or 5 hours at a time. They are switching it off soon. I got about another 15 minutes left before I need to get going.
Okay. So what do you want me to do? Like,
yeah, let's discuss of what you think is happening when we're looking at a mirage. So with this, what you're presenting now, or let's take the topic of light. Do you agree that light, if you, for instance, got a laser and you press the button on, there's a time that it takes from when it goes on to when it hits the wall, for instance. There's a difference in time. Would you agree with that?
yes.
In your bedroom, you're sitting in front of the wall and you press the button. There's from when it leaves that torch's little glass lens and it travels through the atmosphere to hit the wall. There's a time difference between when it leaves the lens and hits the wall, and that's measurable.
In principle, yes, but I cannot prove that it takes time from the source of the light to hit the wall. What is measurable is the time it takes to hit the wall and to come back.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought, I've watched some little videos. I don't know if they're legit or not, where they're measuring the speed of light, and I think they used a Coke bottle or something, and they can actually see the light traveling through this Coke bottle. Or is that a hoax video?
No, it's not a hoax. This is way outside the scope of this conversation. I mean, outside the scope of refraction here. That any measurement of the speed of light is always a round trip, if you will. It's a round trip measurement. You can only time how long it takes for light to go from point A to point B back to point A. Or if it makes a loop, it'll be point A to point B to point C back to point A. You cannot do any one-way measurements of the speed of light, just two-way. Everything is two-way.
Why is that?
Let's suppose you can put somebody on the moon, just hypothetically. You can put somebody on the moon, and you give him like a radio transmitter to tell, and you tell him, hey, I'm going to flash a laser beam at you. I want you to send me the signal. Let me know when you get this beam. We're going to use our stopwatches. The problem is for him to communicate back to you about when he got the light, when he saw the light. That's also light. That communication also happens at the speed of light, whatever that might be. And you don't know how long it took to get back from the moon to Earth. we don't know how long it takes for light to go from Earth to the moon or from the moon back to Earth. We only know the round trip.
So what if you have, for instance, a sensor on the other side? So you have a sensor that detects when the light leaves the light source.
But how is a sensor going to send you back a signal to let you know they received it? Except by communicating with light. You see the problem?
Yeah. So for instance, how do I explain this? If you press a button now, it switches two devices on. So we've got one receiver on one end, and we've got the source on the other end. These two devices are triggered. Their timer is triggered with one button. So I press that button, it sends that light. So both receivers have switched on. Their timer switched on. It marks the point of when you press the button and when the other receiver received the light, or the signal from that light, or however it receives that light source. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but for you to send a signal for that other receiver to turn on, that cannot happen faster than the speed of light. I mean, if you're communicating with light.
I see what you're saying. And let's say you switch them on at the same time now, and their clock is running, and this is all hypothetical now. You take the receiver, and you take it down 20 miles down. Oh no, let's not use 20 miles. Let's use 10 miles down the road, or wherever you're doing this whole test. But now their time is exactly the same. They perfectly on par. And you press on the light button on. So the receiver knows it went on at, say, 5 minutes, 23 seconds, and whatever split seconds. And that's when the sender sent the light. And the receiver received the light at a couple of split seconds later. That should work. Technically, it should work. Correct.
It should in principle, except you don't know if your two clocks are synchronized. You don't know if they're looking at things simultaneously. Okay, because you may have started the two clocks together locally, but then you start moving one farther away, it starts experiencing time dilation, and that clock is no longer synchronized.
I got you.
So you no matter how you try looking at it, you run into the problem of special relativity, particularly with the relativity of simultaneity. You cannot know if two clocks are truly simultaneous. You can only define it as being simultaneous. You have to choose a reference frame to define your time. And so
I got you.
We don't know what the speed of light is going from one point to another point, or the speed of light coming back. We only know the speed of light going both ways. That is, if you knowing the distance, the round trip distance is double the distance between the 2 points, right? So you know the round trip distance, and you can time how long it takes for a signal to go out and come back, so you can time how long it takes that signal, right? So you can do distance divided by time, and you calculate your average speed of light, if you will. It turns out it doesn't matter if we know the speed of light going one way or the other, because in the end, regardless of if if it's faster to go to the moon and slower to come back, that really doesn't matter. It still comes out to be the same average speed of light.
So the reason why I want that sort of test tested is, reason being is that claim of, or not claim. I'm saying I think that is what's going on. Like I say, I'm actually nobody. I'm just me doing my little hobby. But if I am correct in saying that there are barriers between yourself and an observation, or between, when we see that haze, when you're filming over a distance, you see that haze. So I filmed that at different distances. I can see quite close, 150 meters from me, I can actually see that haze starting, or there's this little barrier moving, but it's a slow, big waves. And the further out I go, the more wavy this wave is. I'm saying I think those are measurable distances.
and I think that's where we'll see a change in speed, the change in the speed of light. So what I will find interesting is to see if I had to get that mechanism the way I sort of explained it now with a light receiver, from point A to point B. I I predict that we'll see a change in speed the the further the object is. But I would, how would I say this? You won't see it gradually. I think you will see it in increments. You'll notice, oh well, there's a big jump in the change. There's say 100 or 200 meters between each other. Um, but yeah, it's I think that'll be a topic for another day. But
Yeah.
dude, it's just fascinating. It's a really really cool topic.
Yeah, we can
But
pick up
it's-
on this on the next time, all right?
Yeah, definitely. I would appreciate, and I appreciate you taking the time to actually to demonstrate this to me, because this has really opened up a whole new window for me, in the sense of understanding of what's going on. But I would say it's very on track of what I thought is going on, um, just without the barriers. But I would call them micro barriers. Just the way it's actually what's happening there is it makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate that.
All right. So next time we pick up on this, you want us to go through the derivation, how we can get Snell's law from this?
Yeah, that'll be fantastic.
All right, then we'll do that.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And yeah, let's try get that other guy in here as well. I would love to hear his input as well. To hear you guys actually discuss it would also be great, because I can only for me now is you teaching me something here. I would love to hear you guys actually discussing what's going on. Yeah, discussion is the way forward, I think. Good stuff.
All right.
But yeah, yeah, this one you're gonna keep on your channel, right? You're not gonna remove this now.
That's correct.
Yeah, because I sub to you now. I want to actually go through this again, because it's like I said, it's a great topic and good work, and you did a great job explaining as well.
I hope I did. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't talk about this in the Discord. This is something that needs discussion. Are the guys just not into this?
I kind of feel like my level of talking about this is a little too complicated for them, maybe, and it's very easy that somebody's gonna like jump in and start cutting me off and derail the conversation.
I got you.
I'm already not that
Yeah.
great. I'm already not that great at public speech. I tend to stutter. I tend to trip on my own words. So that creates a weakness in my ability to carry out conversation where we go through steps carefully.
You did a good job. I think you did just fine. It's just the patience of the other guys. I think that's going to be the issue. But yeah, like I said, I'm also not I can't really. I like to discuss these sort of things, or like you did now, explain to me what's going on. Text chats just don't do it for me. I hate text chat, dude. Yeah, because you can't really ask questions, and you don't really understand where the person's coming from. Sometimes I read the thing completely wrong. So yeah, I appreciate you actually chatting to me about this.
All right.
Cool. But yeah, I'll definitely drop you a message when we can carry on with this. Power's going off shortly.
All right.
I don't know if you know about that shit in South Africa.
It happens in other
Cool.
countries too.
Oh, really? No, we've had this now since 2008, but it's just worse. It's every day now. It's called load shedding. It's terrible. Our power is busy. Our grid is busy collapsing. But yeah, it's just mismanaged, I guess. But yeah. All right. But have a good one. And once again, thanks so much. And yeah, we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Good stuff. Cheers, buddy.
All right. Bye bye.